Thilagavathiyar looked after her brother very well. Growing up under his inspirational sister's guidance, Neetraalnirai, even at a young age, realized the temporary nature of the world he was living in and its ways. Any wealth they gained would be used to serve others who were not as fortunate. Thus Neetraalnirai and Thilagavathiyar started partaking in charitable and noble deeds, setting up thirst-quenching stations and feeding hungry strangers. Neetraalnirai also maintained gardens and hand-dug cooling water ponds. They became a personification of charity, and at such a young age lived saint-like lives. However, as he grew into a man, he started questioning a lot of things, and started to think more about the religions which were practiced at the time. The Lord's will and Neetraalnikai's fate meant that he was unable to see the true beauty of the faith and culture he was brought up in. At that moment in time, he was unable to see the answers to all of his questions about life, which were right there in front of him. He soon decided to convert to Saivanam, a move inspired after seeing their emphasis on non-violence, and the Saivanar community itself, which was said to be flourishing at the time. However, not all groups were peaceful at the time. Neetraalnirai genuinely believed that Saivanam would give him emancipation after being persuaded by other Saivanar people, and thus he left the company of his loving sister who had selflessly brought him up and went to a famous centre for Saivanar studies at the time, in present-day Kadalur. There, he studied all Saivanam scriptures with great enthusiasm and effort, which resulted in him being held highly at the institution. In fact, his Saivanam education advanced to such an extent that the Saivanar community had even given him the title and role of Dharmasenar. It is said that during this time he also won debates against Buddhist opposition, which made him even more popular amongst the community of Saivanars he was representing. They felt proud to have such a smart and quick-witted leader like him. He continued like this for many years. Despite her brother leaving her to delve deeper and deeper into Saivanam, after she had sacrificed her whole life for him, Thilagavathiyar was not diverted or distracted from her devotion towards Lord Shiva. She remained an ardent and strong Saivite, and consistently prayed to and served the Lord. She wanted to serve the Lord more, and moved permanently to the holy town of Thiruvadi to serve at the temple there. Here, on the northern banks of the Kadilam river, Thilagavathiyar lived as a shining example. She served the Lord and his devotees by cleaning the temple yards on a daily basis, and by finding and gathering fresh and beautiful flowers, and creating wonderful garlands with them for the all-loving Lord. At the same time, the fact her younger brother, whom she had brought up herself, was not able to see the greatness of the culture he grew up in pained her greatly. Hence, Thilagavathiyar prayed day and night, pleading the Lord to show the ultimate truth to her brother, and thus satisfy his quest for life's answers. Astonishingly, one night, Lord Shiva himself manifested in her dream. He said that Neetraalnirai had in fact made several attempts to reach him in his previous lives, and because of this, he will reach him in this life for sure. Thus, he assured her that her brother will be fine. and that he will return to her looking for a cure for a temporary stomach pain. Marulnikiyar suddenly began to experience a severe colic pain and looked everywhere for cures. He screamed non-stop and rolled around the floor, for he felt unbearable pain in his stomach. The frightened and shocked summoners, who were always around him at the time, looked everywhere for cures and tried to recite all the mantras they knew. They gave some water to him after chanting mantras, and when that didn't work, they tried brushing his whole body with the peacock feathers they had with them. But Marulnikiyar's pain only seemed to intensify. His associates weren't able to help him, and as they were all frightened at the same time due to his constant screaming in pain, they all fled from the scene. With nobody around him offering help, he remembered his dear sister who had looked after him so well when he was young, and sent someone to convey a message which told her of the pain he was suffering, and his request for her to come and help him. Thilagavathiyar felt sad for her brother who was in agony, but for his long-term betterment, she conveyed a message back to him, saying that she was unable to join him as he was in the company of people who didn't respect her faith. Upon receiving Thilagavathiyar's message, Marulnikiyar decided it was time to return to his sister once and for all, in hope his pain could be relieved. Thus, he left all of his connections with Swamigal there itself, and proceeded towards the hut where his legendary sister lived. Clothed in nothing but a white cloth, Marulnikiyar arrived at the hut of his sister in the dark of the night, and Thilagavathiyar was delighted to see her dear brother after so long. Their connection was more than that of just brother and sister. Thilagavathiyar raised Marulnikiyar like her own son, after their parents had passed away when Marulnikiyar was a small child. Marulnikiyar fell to her feet asking for forgiveness and begged her to cure his pain. Thilagavathiyar was already informed of the Lord's divine act by the Lord himself in her dream. Thus she told her younger brother that all which is happening is by the grace of the Lord with matted hair, and thus we should all surrender ourselves to him and serve him. She instructed him, as mentioned to her in a dream, to visit the Lord's temple in Thiruvadi, giving him Thiru and chanting the holy 5-syllabled mantra of in the process. Marulnikiyar accepted his sister's words wholeheartedly and wore the ash offered by Thilagavathiyar, sensing that he had finally reached the ultimate destination of prosperity. With his sister, Marulnikiyar went to the temple of Thiruvadi the very next day, in the early hours of the morning. As soon as he stood in front of the Lord there, he prostrated on the floor towards him, and devotion flowed like a river. Marulnikiyar suddenly felt an unquenchable urge to sing in praise of the Lord, and sing he did. Kootraayinavaaru vilakagilIr kodumai pala seidana naan ariyeen eetraayadike iravum pagalum piriyadu vananguvan appoludum thotraathan vayitrinagam
கற்றேன் அடியேன் அதிகை கடில விரட்டான துறை அம்மானே.
And there it was, Narulnikiyar's first song devoted to the all-loving Lord, all in the midst of an excruciating stomach pain which seemingly had no cure. Despite this, Narulnikiyar's devotional outpouring continued, as he went on to complete a set of 10 songs which is known as a Padikam. These songs would be the first of thousands of compositions sang by Narulnikiyar, which we call Thevaram in today's world. Circular Swamigal captured these legendary moments in his 70th Periya Puranam dedicated to Thiru Navukkarasar's life story.
Neetraalnirai vaakiya மேனியுடன் நிறையன்புறு சிந்தையில் நேசமிக மாற்றார் புறம் மாற்றிய வேதியரை மருளும் புலி மாயை அறுத்திடுவான். கூற்றாயினவாறு விளக்ககிலீர் என நெடிய கூதில் திருப்பதிகம் போற்றார் உலகு அடின் வருந்துயரும் ஓமாரதில் நின்று உகன்றனரா.